regarding an unloving emotion, is it possible that if you ask yourself why, it's difficult to find it because you have imbibed it from parents? For example, for me, it's like with sexual projection a lot.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Because you can sort of try to use your mind and ask, why do I feel this way? But my personal opinion and my personal experience has been, particularly in this life, has been your mind's not very adept at telling you the reasons. And this is why many of us are confused a lot of the time. Because emotionally, there's things going on telling your mind, don't think about that. Don't consider that. And so, excuse me, the important thing is to focus on what it is you do actually feel rather than asking yourself why you feel it. See, the mind is going to say, oh, I feel sad, but I don't want to feel sad. So why do I feel sad?
I'll figure it out and then I'll be less sad.
I'll figure it out. Yeah. Right? It's going to say, if I figure it out, then maybe I won't have to feel it. That'd be a good idea. Right? But it's in the soul already. So the only way it's going to come out is by feeling it. So the problem with using your mind, using these techniques, and this is why they are ineffective, is because the mind is going, I'm going to try to discover why. I'm going to try to discover what's going on. And in your mind, you think you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to discover it. You'll just be able to think about it enough, ask yourself why enough, and try to ponder about the issue enough, try to think about the issue enough, and ask other people why they might feel the same way enough, and eventually you'll resolve it. But at the end of the day, all you'll resolve is why. You'll still feel it. You understand? You'll still carry it around. The only way you can stop feeling it is by actually going through the emotional experience of feeling it. When you go through the emotional experience of feeling it, then who cares why? Because it's gone. That makes sense, John?
Yeah, I think I have to do it.
Yeah. Because, you see, this is the real struggle all of you are going to have is this. You hear divine truth and you think, I'm a clever person. I can work it all out. All I've got to do is listen enough and try to work on it and use my mind enough, and I'll work it all out. I'll get there, right? And this is the same way you've learnt the rest of your life, using the same techniques, and it's worked. So this tells you that this is a good method. It's going to work. But God's way is different. God's way is that the soul has to process something in order for you to learn new things. You have to get rid of the old things out of your soul to learn new things that will come to your soul. And this soul needs to go through an experience, emotional experience, in order to do that. And yet the mind is saying, but if I could just work it out and just find out why, I might not have to. I might not have to. You know, if I could work out why I feel ashamed, then I won't have to feel ashamed anymore. If I could just work out why I'm so sad, I won't have to feel sadness anymore. If I could just work out why it is that I feel like I want to drink or drug myself to death, I won't have to do that anymore. But the trouble is, you can work it out and you'll still want to do it. Because the emotion that drives those feelings is in your soul, and the only way it's going to come out is by you experiencing it without acting upon it. So in other words, I feel like killing myself, but I can't act upon it. So I've got to go through the experience of the experience of feeling it. Now, when I go through the experience of feeling it, I will find out why. And it will be the actual reason, not the 2,500 different other reasons that my mind came up with while I was avoiding the actual reason. Right? So the problem with using the mind to discover why is you're already avoiding the path. You're already avoiding the path forward. The mind is not going to be effective in actually releasing the emotion. even if it identifies the emotion accurately, which often it won't, because the mind is already being used to not identify it or to avoid it. Right? Even if it could identify the emotion accurately, you still are not much benefited because you still haven't felt it. Yeah? The only way to progress is to actually feel it. Now, your mind can be a good tool in some cases to school yourself into feeling it. And what I mean by that is, instead of going and getting an addiction met, and instead of going and get that coffee, and instead of going and get that drug, and instead of going to get that other thing, your mind says, no, you're not going to do any of those things. You're going to damn well feel this thing. You're going to feel this emotion instead. And you're not going to act upon it, and you're not going to be unloving when you do it, but you're going to make sure you do it. And let's say your lifestyle is such that you're not allowing yourself any time to do it, then damn well fix your lifestyle and give yourself some time to do it. You know? Your mind can do that, right? But unfortunately for most of us, we haven't sort of schooled our mind from our soul. Our soul has decided, let's use my mind to avoid my soul, to avoid my feelings. So for most of us, what we're doing is we're going, I know what will help me over this. I just get some addictions met, like whatever addiction. I find that every time I have coffee, all of a sudden all those bad feelings go away for a while. So let's have some more coffee. Or I find every time I eat more, those feelings go away for a while, so let's eat more. Every time I have sex, those feelings go away, so let's have more sex, right? Every time I do something to make the feelings go away, the mind says, this is great. It's helping you avoid, because the soul is saying, I want to avoid. And so the mind is going to go, no worries, I'll help you, right? Instead, what we need to do is go, right, our mind can either become subservient to my emotional state and help me, or my mind can be a stoic way of avoiding my emotional state. And I've got a choice the way I use it. At the moment, the majority of you are using it to avoid your emotional state. And you've been schooled to do that, for some of you, for 50, 60, 70 years. The whole life on earth you've been schooled to avoid the emotional state, avoid the emotional state. It's powerful to avoid the state. Get some control of yourself is the general feeling that society has nowadays. And what happens when a person in front of you is feeling an emotion? What does everybody do? It's like everybody goes into panics about it. Like somebody can just be crying and it can be just even a child just having a cry, and everybody's in a state like, how do we stop the child from crying? And then what is it like when you're an adult and you're crying? It's like disaster. Like, what? Haven't you got control of those tears yet? What's the go, And so the average feeling in society is you haven't got control of yourself when you're having your feelings. But actually, as long as you don't act upon them, it's the only time you actually have some control of yourself. Right? The rest of the time you're just walking along doing a whole heap of things and you've got no idea what you're doing and what's driving it. But at least when you're having your emotions, you'll know what's driving it. At least you'll have some consciousness. So the big issue we face in our soul, and this is an issue that faces you, most of you in the audience, is how are you going to get away from this mind resolve? Why do I do this? Using your mind to chew and mull things over and work things out and to resolve things. How are you going to get away from the mind being dominant in your life to the point where you restrict your unloving actions, but you feel your feelings as your priority, as your goal? And the goal being that without you doing it, a relationship with God is impossible. And knowing that without me processing through something emotionally, my relationship with God is in a fissure. And by the way, not only your relationship with God, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your soulmate, your relationship with your friends, your partners, Everybody on earth, your relationship with the environment is all damaged if you can't feel. So it makes a lot of sense to feel. But the majority of us go, well, those feelings, they're pretty dangerous, right?
Can't trust them.
Can't trust them. Yep. They're very bad for me. And this is the problem that most of us have, is that we have such a poor opinion of our emotional intelligence that we revert to intellectual intelligence as a dominating force in our lives, because we have such a poor opinion of making changes emotionally. That make sense?